My name is Miles and I'm a student at the University of Southampton, and I'm setting up a social enterprise to support students and the local community's mental health. So my expectations of uni and the course itself were pretty high actually. I thought that it was going to be a kind of social bubble at university, and the course was going to be fairly full on, but it actually, for me, going to uni ticked all the boxes. It was massively beneficial to meet loads of different people from all around the country, and from other countries as well. So I chose to go to University of Southampton, partly because it was really close to Bath and it meant that I could get back there to do my work, but also because they had human geography, which I was really keen to do, and I picked it because I'm fascinated in people and what we do on this planet, and I think that geography has a massive part to play in kind of what happens to us, and I think it can really help in terms of alleviating a lot of poverty and social inequity. So on my course in human geography, they very much focus on kind of political economics, that kind of aspect. However, I went a bit rogue and did an optional module in social enterprise. So the social enterprise module, as far as I know, I was the only one from human geography doing it, so it's not a standard one to do. There was a lot of business students on that. It was really beneficial and kind of gave me a different perspective from what I'd been learning at university so far, which massively changed my kind of course of direction in terms of what I got up to in second year. And from social enterprise module, I learned a huge amount about how you can merge businesses and charities, their kind of models, to really have a good social impact on the wider community. I certainly kind of was expecting to just go to university, join a sports society, and probably just plant my feet there. However, I kind of, as soon as I got to university, started wanting to get involved in what was going on outside of university as well. I started looking at the problems around us, and I started thinking that the intercultural problems that we suffer at university, the exclusiveness in the societies that I was even in, and the expense it costs to go into them, as well as out in the wider community, you've got things like homelessness that we're kind of quite disconnected from. And so I really saw these problems and started kind of having, a bit of a realisation that I'd kind of been shut off to that beforehand. So that was I took a step back, but it was quite interesting to focus on a lot of the problems in society. I think after doing the social enterprise module, I started seeing that there is a way in which I can kind of be a part of trying to solve these issues and tackle them. It was quite negative really having more of a focus on the problems out there, but it's also, there's a bit of hope that you can try and help solve them. One of the major problems that we looked at was an intercultural problem at university between international students and domestic students, and the lack of integration. And even though in our group project we were meant to be setting up the Cultural Phoenix Society to try and tackle this problem, we were lacking integration even in our own group, and that really upset me and kind of made me realise that if we can't tackle the problem here, then how can we tackle it on a wider scale? So I made sure to speak to those people individually and try and get them to help contribute in group projects. And even earlier that week, I'd gone to the park run, and we had a student that had died from overdose of drugs, and stuff like that made me realise how 37,500 students were interviewed and half of them took drugs and alcohol as a coping mechanism. And it's things like that that really shocked me when I started doing research into it and really upset me. So it made me want to try and make a change and see what I could do as a student to help. But yeah, it's quite a sad kind of realisation, and it made me quite upset. I think all over the country students are kind of felt to kind of fit in, and there's this kind of social pressures put on them, and particularly people that don't want to be taking drugs or alcohol feel the need to have friends, and I think that's a real problem in our society and our culture at universities that we need to change. Yeah, so going to university, I'd already played a lot of rugby at school, so it was something that I wanted to massively get involved in the culture at university. So I went straight into the university rugby team and actually did some charity work there, surprisingly. I didn't kind of expect to be doing. and we ran every day in January to try and raise money for So Don't Mind, the local mental health charity. And that kind of cohesiveness of a team doing something like that meant that we were the biggest fundraisers of that year for Red January, which was pretty awesome. It made me feel pretty awesome because I think it goes both ways really, in terms of you have to help yourself before you can help others. And so being able to do that physical activity and really benefit my own well-being as well as other people was a real kind of boost in terms of my self-confidence, and hopefully can pass that on to other people. So from doing the rugby and seeing that community of runners doing it every day and how it became a habitual process, the benefits of both doing physical exercise for your mental health was incredible. So I wanted to really implement that into my social enterprise and show people how the endorphins you can get from exercise can be just as good as any that you get from any other things like drugs or alcohol. So that was a real catalyst to start off my social enterprise. I really drew back on the information and the models that I'd learned back in the social enterprise module. It basically involved going to the university and applying for funding, originally in a sort of Dragon's Den-esque pitch. And then once I'd received some funding, I then spent all summer flat out speaking to businessmen, CEO of charities, students, staff members from the university, and really getting a broad picture and spectrum of what I needed to incorporate into my social enterprise really, and get that model refined. It's also been quite difficult. One of the biggest things I've learned is that it's not all an easy ride. It's like playing snakes and ladders. You go up the ladder, but you also hit a snake and you come back down. And that snake can be speaking to people that have mental health issues and say that what I'm setting up isn't good enough and it needs improving. But that ladder can be someone just on the street overhearing you talking about your social enterprise and saying that they'd really benefit from it. So it swings and roundabouts, but I'm really enjoying it. So I think whatever issues you're going through, I think it's always going to be unique to you, but also there will be a sense of commonality among other students or people, and I think it's massively important that you don't try and hide any problems that you're going through. And also use that as a passion, that when you overcome them, to try and help others and try and use the knowledge that you've got to certainly help other people, because I feel that the most passionate people are the ones that I've seen that have kind of suffered from issues before or even going through them at the moment. I think there's this misconception that when you do volunteering or when you help someone else out, that it's like you're losing out yourself, but actually it's the complete opposite. You gain so much from it. The great thing about it is that when you're giving your time, you feel great, and the person you're giving it to feels great too.